It was a wonder that the fiery land that the phoenixes had made into their home had forests. The trees around her proved immune to the sparks of flame conjured by Cohen's wings, and even when they perched on a branch, the woods seemed to care little for the disturbance. The forest grew thicker the further in they went, and Tsunade wondered if the trial had already begun. But the phoenixes didn't strike her as creatures of cunning. They seemed to prefer honesty. What did she know, though? Clearly, the other reborn ninja failed these tests. Other reborn ninja. That was still hard to process. Gods, she'd have to ask the phoenixes about it if they did choose her as a summoner. She was a fifth of the way there. There was solace to be found in that, at least. "We're here," said Cohen, bringing her to a stop before a lake of pure crystal that reflected his flames under the forest, casting it in a magnificent green. "The trial begins now." And before she could respond, the phoenix flapped their wings, and the water in the lake rose into translucent spikes. No, not spikes. Mirrors. "Kai," Tsunade breathed, as the floating shapes surrounding her showed Senju Tobirama's disappointed visage. But disturbing her chakra system had no effect whatsoever. "Good instinct," said the phoenix, "but I have no gift for genjutsu. These images are conjured by your mind, not mine." "Tsunade," her granduncle said softly, as she began to walk around the maze of whirling reflections surrounding her, trying not to look at him but finding it impossible. Wherever she turned, she saw a man she had loved and lost, and the grief saturating his features haunted her. "You're not my granduncle," she replied firmly before he could say more, continuing to map her way through the trap she'd found herself in. "But he is," said Cohen, flying overhead. "Do you not know that those who love us leave a part of their soul with us when they depart? This may not be your granduncle, not fully, but it is a part of him, as much as it is a part of you." "A part of him you manipulated into being displeased with me," Tsunade seethed, continuing to ignore Tobirama. She expected the trial to be harsh, but this was overkill, even after the last one. "Fuck Owen." "I altered nothing," said the phoenix, and somehow his words rang true despite Tsunade knowing very little of her examiner. "This is the version of him that exists within your mind. Face it, or fail the trial." Tsunade grit her teeth and stopped in her tracks. "I see how it is," she muttered, then raised her gaze from the ashy ground to the man that was not, could not be her granduncle. Her heart ached. "Hello, Oji-san," she said softly, her voice breaking as the last syllable made it past her lips. "I wish we could meet under different circumstances." "Tsunade," he repeated her name, still saturated with anguish. "What have you become?" At that, the kunoichi froze. Her limbs wouldn't move, her lungs wouldn't work, and her mind came to a complete halt. The spell was broken with the reverberation of one word through her head. "No, no, no!" "We're so kind," Tobirama said, insistent, as if trying to get through to her, as if she wasn't listening. "So good! You are pure in a way that most of us never get to be, untarnished by war. Now, you're a killer. You killed my nephew, Tsunade. How did it come to this?" The disappointment, the grief in his eyes almost undid her. "I grew up," she replied simply, hurt and angry and suddenly exhausted. "I wish I could stay an unburdened child. I do," she choked. "Perhaps I might have had the chance had you lived. Gods, Oji-san, I wish you could have lived. Don't use my death as an excuse to repeat my mistakes, Tsunade." "I'm not," she argued. "But you weren't there to protect me or Naoki, Oji-san, and I had to do it myself. At what cost? At any cost!" "You really are just like me then," he lamented, covering his eyes with a scarred hand. I hoped you could be better, Tsunade. You could have been better. I did the best with what I had. You chose the easy path." "Never," she seethed. "I never chose what was easy over what was right. I am the head of your clan, which I care nothing for, solely to maintain your legacy. I protected my siblings where you couldn't, even if I had to protect them from their own father." There were tears in her eyes now, and when she tried to turn away to hide them, she only ended up facing another Tobirama in another mirror. "Fuck. I'm doing my best," she said weakly. "I'm flawed and inexperienced, and even if Danzo denied it, I'm naive. I'm not the best person for the job, and I don't think I ever will be, but I'm working with what I have, okay?" She looked up then, meeting the familiar red eyes. Why was she arguing with him? She missed him more than anything. Anything. Why was she wasting their time on this? Why was he? "You're not my real granduncle after all," she accused quietly. "My Oji-san wouldn't have assaulted me with criticism. He would have offered me advice and guidance, and he would have corrected my mistakes rather than simply berate me for them." She took a deep, shuddering breath. "I know what you are," Tsunade said simply. "This may not be as intricate as the hell viewing technique, but I know what you are. You are the version of Oji-san that lives in my head, distorted by my grief, my pain, and my own feeling of inadequacy. My real Oji-san would have been happy that I kept his clan together at any cost. It's all he ever wanted." She was breathing erratically towards the end of her monologue, every word heavy with a burden of emotion. And then Tobirama smiled. His eyes cleared up somehow, making him appear more present, and he leaned forward to place his palms on the glass. "You were always a smart kid," he told her softly, offering Tsunade a rare, genuine grin. "We don't have long now that you've carved your path to what little of me resides in you, so I'll be quick. I am beyond proud of you, Tsunade. You've surpassed every last expectation and hope I had for you, and I am so sorry that the road I'd paved for you is so unkind." Tsunade rushed forward then, recognizing her real grand-uncle, pressing her much smaller palm over his own. "Oji-san," she choked out through her tears, "I've been watching you all this time. You didn't travel to the Pure Land?" she asked quietly. "I didn't dare miss the chaos that my little grannies would unleash upon our world," he smiled, a little wider this time. "Look at you, all grown. You look so much like my little brother Itama, that I would have thought you his child if I didn't know better," he chuckled dryly. "I miss you so much, Oji-san. I miss you too, kid," he told her honestly, and Tsunade could swear that the mirror grew warmer under their hands. "Time grows short. Remember, regardless of where this road takes you, regardless of what you have to do, regardless of who you choose to love or trust or betray, I will always be proud of you, Tsunade. I will always have faith in you. I will always love you." "I love you too, Oji-san," she replied, crying in earnest now. "I love you." With a final smile, Tobirama disappeared from the mirror, leaving Tsunade to stare at her own reflection, all red-rimmed eyes and tear-stained cheeks. She could feel his hand on her hair, though, gently ruffling it, and that alone was worth the agony of losing him all over again. Koen didn't give her long to wallow in her misery. Her visage was soon replaced by Danzo's, his grin contrasting the kindness of her granduncle's smile. "What are you doing here?" Tsunade demanded, stepping away from the mirror only to bump her back against another. "You dead?" "Oh no, Senju, I am very much alive," he spoke from behind her, making her turn so sharply that she almost fell over. "Get the fuck out of my brain then!" "No can do," he replied, amused. "Past, present, and future. This trial has 3 parts. I, naturally, am the regret that most occupies your mind at present. Tell me, Senju, how does it feel to know that you are exactly like me?" "Fuck you!" she roared, smashing the mirror with her fist, briefly forgetting about the trial altogether. She feared that she may have failed it for a moment before another mirror hovered to take its place, still showing Danzo. Tsunade huffed and began walking. Not away necessarily, she had a trial to pass, but just walking off some steam. She'd have to if she were to survive this conversation. "I am nothing like you." Danzo laughed. "Don't lie to yourself, Senju," he said. "You may not be the one ordering the training of my new recruits, most of whom are younger than you, I must add. But you're knowingly concealing the information from the Hokage. How are you not complicit? Did you not turn away from the case of the missing Nara kid last month? The girls I took from the orphanage? I bought them, you know. No one even put up a fight. Imagine, if only I came to power sooner, I could have taken your 2 friends." Another mirror shattered, though the Danzo in a different one continued his speech. "And I took one of your classmates last week, didn't I? And no one raised a fuss because he was clanless, but you knew. You knew I took him, and you told nobody." "I acknowledge that what you do is necessary," Tsunade said through gritted teeth. "I've been following your operations. I know how valuable your work is to maintaining the fragile peace. Adhere to our agreement, and I'll leave you be." "You draw a line, then," he said, amused. "Are the lives of your friends and family really more valuable than the innocent children I've ensnared?" Another mirror shattered. "Really, Senju, that is awfully self-important of you." "I draw the line because I have to," she raged. "Do you think I don't care? Do you think I don't want to spill your dirt for all to see, sentencing you to death for your treachery? Do you think I sleep easily at night, knowing that I've left innocence at your mercy?" She was crying again. Fuck, she was crying again. "I'm doing my absolute fucking best to end the war so that bastards like you are no longer needed. A necessary evil is still fucking evil, you maniacal fucking asshole. And as soon as I get people to stop dying so that the proud and the powerful can use them as pawns in their stupid fucking war, I'm coming for you." She didn't break the mirror this time, instead leaning onto it and looking up at Danzo. "I'm going to eradicate you and the likes of you from our society, you disgusting cockroach of a man. Better, I'll create a world where shit-stains like you cannot thrive, you hear me?" "Loud and clear," he grinned, looking unconvinced. "And one last thing," Tsunade continued. "I am nothing fucking like you. You know why? Enlighten me." "Because I'm not cold." Her voice broke. "My actions may be as bad as yours, but I don't detach myself from them. I embrace my burden and carry it willingly." "Your sentimentality makes you weak." "So be it," she declared, rising to her full height again. "I'd rather be weak than turn out like you, a husk of a man that forgot what it's like to be human." "I pity you, Danzo, and for all you may hope that me falling into your brand of villainy would prove that you had no other choice, I won't. You are what you made yourself into, and I hope that when you die, you will spend an eternity living without knowledge." She bit the inside of her cheek hard to stop more venom from pouring out. "Now get the fuck out of my face, you piece of fucking shit." She almost collapsed to the ground in relief when, after flashing her one final grin, Danzo did in fact disappear. Tsunade felt like she was about to be sick. The trial wasn't over though, and her disgust was replaced with dread when another familiar vision appeared in the mirror. The future. "I've seen you before," she told the image, hoping that the statement would grant her the courage she so desperately needed. "Oh, I know," Orochimaru assured her, grinning in a way that she now knew to read as both genuine and sadistic. Somehow, it made the vision worse than it was during the bell test. It felt more real. "How does it feel, princess, to know that the person you so adore is going to grow into your greatest fear?" he challenged. "Or would you deny that you would still see me and do the hell viewing technique?" "I'd see you still," she admitted easily. "As for how it feels sad," Tsunade swallowed. "I love you so much, Orochimaru. You're my best friend, and though I adore my family and would choose them over you 1,000 times over, you're my favorite person." "You're quite silly to allow yourself to care for someone you'll later have to eliminate." "I am," she agreed. "I am." "Pathetic," he spat. "Even when you face me, all you can muster is weakness. Is it a wonder that I left you behind if you've got nothing to offer but this pathetic display?" "I'm not afraid of you right now, Orochimaru," Tsunade said quietly, looking him up and down. Orochimaru was gorgeous, even as he was in the reflection. His skin was a flawless porcelain, his silky black hair cascading over his back and softly framing his beautiful face. He was too pale though, almost sickly. And while his golden eyes were filled with wisdom and confidence, they were also saturated with other emotions that she'd long since learned to recognize. "I'm not afraid of you," she repeated, placing her hand on the mirror. "I'm just sad. You look lonely, Orochimaru, and I'm sad for you." His grin evaporated. "Lonely?" he asked. "Me?" The laugh that followed was every bit as disingenuous as it was maniacal, and Tsunade could no longer hold back her tears. She'd shed tears of grief for her grand-uncle, and tears of rage for his student. Now Tsunade shed tears of guilt for the teammate she had and lost. "How can I be lonely when I could have the company of anyone I desire?" he continued, maintaining the facade of amusement. "Why would I need the company of others when I could immerse myself in uncovering the mysteries?" "I'm sorry," she said quietly, placing her hand atop the mirror again as Orochimaru continued to waste his breath on excuses. "I'm sorry I left you alone, Orochimaru. I'm sorry I let you become this." He looked down at her, sneering, and before she could register the movement, his fist crashed into the mirror, rattling it hard enough to make Tsunade jump. Her hands remained glued to the surface. "You dare pity me? Me, who has mastered immortality? Me, who had learned more jutsu than any shinobi before? Me!" "I'm so sorry," Tsunade talked over him again, her words barely coherent through her tears. "I'm sorry I let you walk down that path. I'm sorry I failed you, Orochimaru." Her teammate continued to yell very articulate sentences that held absolutely no meaning to her. "I'm not letting this happen to you," she promised firmly, both to him and to herself, holding the gaze of the Orochimaru that will never be. "I'm going to do better, you hear me? I'm going to be as good a friend to you as you are to me. I'm going to support you in whatever you need my help with, and I'm going to make sure you aren't led astray by those seeking to use and discard you." "How dare!" "I love you," she said simply. "Even as you are now, I love you. You are my friend. I'm going to keep you safe and happy, and I'm going to make sure you feel so loved that you never look this lonely again. I'm going to keep up with you, whatever it entails. And I'm going to help you stay away from roads that promise power and cost your happiness. I'll be your keeper, Orochimaru." "I don't need a keeper," he replied, still angry but not yelling anymore at least. "Of course you don't," Tsunade agreed easily, blinking away tears and mustering a weak smile. "You don't need anything or anybody. But not needing things doesn't mean that you can't have them. You can have friends and allies and confidence and a family. I promise you that you will at least have me, no matter where you tread. I will always try to save you, even if it's from yourself." "I am perfectly fine," he said quietly, knocking his fists against the surface again, though not enough to rattle it this time. Tsunade moved her hands on top of his. "But you're not happy," she replied quietly. "And while this may be good enough for you, it's not good enough for me." "Why?" he choked out. "You fear me. You hate me." "I used to, I think," she admitted. "But I don't anymore." "You're making a mistake," he tried again. "I'm not," Tsunade insisted. "Besides, I already promised you, didn't I? I'm with you to the end, buddy. Can't get rid of me that easily." "You're impossible," he muttered, falling to his knees before her. She would have said something, probably, if the mirror before her didn't suddenly become very liquid, allowing her to pass through the barrier to where her teammate was kneeling on the ground. Tsunade didn't hesitate. She pulled the man into a tight hug, holding on to him for dear life. "I won't let it get this far," she breathed into his hair. "I promise. I promise." "So be it," he yielded, his voice as drenched in anguish as her own, before exploding like a water balloon, drenching her. Tsunade blinked warily as the mirror itself burst, also, soon followed by all the other constructs in the vicinity. In the end, she was wet, sticky, and deeply horrified by the fact that her examiner had watched all this pass. Koen seemed to have no issues with her performance, however. You have conquered the trial of wisdom, he told her, then flapped his wings, expelling every last drop of excess moisture from her form. Wisdom, Tsunade muttered. You would deem my faith in my comrade wise, then? Faith has no bearing on wisdom, replied the phoenix. Though you had proven yourself wise enough to recognize your mistakes and amend them, loyalty is a valuable quality, kindling, even if directed at the wrong targets. Orochimaru is not the wrong target, she replied through gritted teeth. Only time will tell, said the bird. Come, there are yet more trials for you to face. And despite the fact that she was perfectly dry, Tsunade felt cold. Cold like she never was before, cold like her heart was missing. She briefly wondered just how much of it she had left at home. With a teammate, she could only hope not to fail a second time.